Morning, Ted.
Good morning.
I'm still like fighting with my PM counterpart, trying to get someone.
Great. I feel like stuff is starting to gel up as far as these initial projects. I don't know if you saw that timeline that I put out there. I added like a rough Gantt chart to the doc.
Mhm.
Did you get a chance to see that? This into the chat. I posted this in the maintainer channel in Slack as well.
Yeah. Hi, Morgan. Morning. And I created the metrics project tracking on the OpenTelemetry top level projects, and I also see like there are more created, so we probably can start to practice that.
Yeah, I thought that would be great. So I'm getting some advice on how to simplify this diagram, but something basically like this is what I think our project looked like. I realize I can simplify this onto fewer lines, but basically, so we're here right now, coming through March here. So in March, we're going to be doing the data model and also beginning the API design. And then we're expecting to hit the prototyping phase, the build out phase in May, and then like a beta phase in September with like everything finalized at the end of November. Something roughly like this. I would love a review of whether this is the right way to draw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then as far as ordering the other initiatives, after some discussion, I went with, for March, working on the convenience API. This is because this requires very little specification work, cross-language work. I think maintainers can just get started on this, and we'll write some stuff in the spec to help them. So we can focus on this right away. So right now, I'm going to ask the maintainers for March to work on this layer as their primary activity besides supporting beta, or sorry, supporting 1.0. Then we start getting into some kind of tiered phases. So in so I realize I may have like an off by one error here with this bottom line. This should be March over here. But next up will be like a simplified installation experience, having 1 month to flesh this out as a sort of like design and discussion phase. And then that moves into the maintainers actually then going and implementing a simplified experience or cleaning up their experience. Obviously they can start earlier, but I just want 2 months for that. And trying to stack up as they move on to implementing one thing, so in this case, the installation, we also kick off a design phase for the next project. So there's always one implementation project and one design project. So in this case, the design project would be for diagnostics. Nev Wiley has said he's interested in this. And so he's asking, I think, within his team at Microsoft to see if he can get some other people interested.
Yeah.
And then, so that would be a month of design there, kicking off in April. And then a month of people implementing that. At the same time, we start to design our instrumentation ecosystem and solve all the problems that we need to tackle there. And then instrumentation build out is just going to go on for the rest of the time, because we're going to have to build out tracing, and then we're going to have to build out metrics The one thing I realize we need to add to this chart is internships, because they're coming in. And that would be a good thing to know on here. So like May through August, we'll have interns, which makes me realize actually this instrumentation thing, we should bump this sooner. Maybe 1 month sooner. So maybe switch that with diagnostics. Just because I think instrumentation is a really good thing to get interns to work on. And so we should be prepared to catch them when they arrive in May. We shouldn't be discussing this stuff in May because they're going to want projects as soon as they start showing up. So that's about as far as I've gotten as far as the overall roadmap, but it's starting to feel at least a little sane. I just worry about our ability to actually design anything in a month.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like I think we might want to clarify, is this just focusing on the spec itself, or we expect certain like clients to be ready?
Right, so that's the, when I say here design versus beta, there's for each one of these projects, there's one phase. I'll put these on the same line, but it's like the lighter color, the darker color. Mm-hmm. Lighter color is design. The darker color is everybody goes and implements this. So this lighter color is figure out what the maintainers should do, get agreement, and then let's all build it out. I don't think there needs to be a lot of cross-project build-out interaction, especially for the convenience API and the installation experience. So I do think it should be feasible to implement this stuff in a month if maintainers are all focused on doing just that. Likewise, the design goals for like a simplified installation design, I don't know. Like this isn't like trying to design the metrics API, right? Like this is more just clarifying with each other what should this be? Do we want to have a config file? Should that be YAML? Should that be like Python INI and other native things, stuff like that? What's actually problematic and annoying that, you know, like doing an audit of each system could happen in this month. But getting into those details now, that's kind of, so I want to clean this up a little bit and bring it back to the maintainers on Monday. And then ask people to just kick off with the convenience API work. I know some people want more of a spec for that, but I'm going to say just go do it. So that's where I'm at. And then, yeah, I've started to just add these as projects to the board, since no one seems to be blocking any of these projects.
I have a small question about some of the details. Probably we don't have to dive into every detail, but just quickly ask this question and to get some idea. For example, the convenience API, I expect once we have like Matrix API or the other API, they will need the convenience API as well.
They will.
So, yeah, so this probably is just scope to trace, and later we might need to do other stuff.
That's correct. This is for our current stable APIs. Mm-hmm. There's things we can do to make this less code for the application developer. Mm-hmm. That's like annotations and languages that support annotations. JavaScript ripped out anything that looks remotely convenient. I don't totally understand their motivation here, but you know, if you look at like OpenTelemetry.js.
Yeah, I've seen in JS and in Python, they're like easier way that you can decorate. Like for example, in Python, you can put an annotation in a function, so it automatically captures the span start. And
yeah, yeah. Here it's like right, like here just to give an example, like currently. Like they removed anything you can do with like width span. Like currently like setting a span to active is like this whole line: API context with API set span, API context active span.
It's not super nice.
I'm like, seriously, is someone defending this as being easy? So there's like a desire to be like, why don't we just add with span back that takes a callback and a span? Like, come on.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Like, this is good to have under the hood. Like, I think it's fine if this is how it works under the hood to interact with context objects, but like the end user doesn't need to deal with that. Like, no one needs to deal with that. So that's this is an example of stuff. And they're kind of saying like, well, there's nothing in the spec that says we have this, so we removed it all. And I'm kind of like, well, all right, I'm going to add something to the spec that says, you know, create a single package that has convenience methods for all the stable APIs, right? So just one package. It can have separate objects, you know, trace, context, whatever, but just one place where if you're application developer, there's something simple. And then if you can take those same functions that are available as functions and turn them into like annotations that take the same arguments or whatever the equivalent is in your language, like do that. And I think that's all the spec work we need to have. I don't think these need to be universal across every language because they're high level functions. You can't mess up the tracing model by adding these, as long as they're just high level functions that call these lower level functions. They only exist in the API. In other words, there's no spec layer here.
Makes sense.
So that's I think we can get people kicked off with this first.
Yeah, and for diagnostics, I have probably no need to cover all. I got the rough idea. For diagnostics, I'll give one example. Like in OpenTelemetry.net, like folks have something like this. It's already using the error logging.
Yeah, and diagnostics is like, it's one part, how do we log errors? And there's another part, which is how do we just get a readout? Like, what is useful if I'm going to support someone, they're going to come into Slack and say like, I have an OpenTelemetry problem. Is there either on the command line or within the application a way to ask person to do a setting where they can get a printout, they can copy paste?
Exactly.
So not just logs. Yeah, this kind of stuff.
So there's a simple configuration file that you can put in any application using OpenTelemetry.net, and you specify the behavior. So I think probably I can ask Sigil to share some of the requirements we originally put here. Like you can always turn on diagnostics without having to worry that turning this on will blow your application away. And also the log will have an upper limit and the performance consideration and what should go into the log, what's the verbosity level, and also how, if you want, how would you turn those into logs? I know this is a hard topic. In .NET, we don't have that struggle. We have to wait for some logging API spec. But for C++, because we don't have a famous logging API, we have to work with the logging SIG to see what the logging API should be instead of inventing some random logging API. For .NET, it's kind of, there's already iLogger being there 10 years. There's no point to invent yet another logging API. So we use this and we can pipe this into the iLogger API.
Yeah,
makes it easier.
I think there's like a couple things there for the for logging. The first part is just getting the logging protocol stable. If we have the logging protocol stable, then we can at least start logging our own information. And this is another part of diagnostics. There's one part is like, I want local diagnostics, right? Like things are truly messed up. There has to be a way to print logs out to local file or the screen. Also, I want some diagnostic information. But then there's going to be issues happening during runtime where like, assume OpenTelemetry is your system for collecting information about your system. And so when there's problems with OpenTelemetry, it needs to report through its own system, assuming it's running, right? So these are things like dropping spans, users making API calls that are causing exceptions that we're ignoring, like that kind of stuff. And so we need a design for like what what does that stuff look like? And is that stuff that comes out of just like our log? Are these just logs like any other logs, and they come through our logging protocol? That would be a place to start generating logs without even needing a logging API finished. It's just how does OpenTelemetry internally log its own behavior? So, and then I think related to that is what John brought up, which is like we haven't really actually specified what we do in some of these error cases. And since what we don't want to do is like throw exceptions, that basically to my mind means defining like how we log what happened, and do we like drop things on the floor, or like what happens, in these scenarios. So I feel like that diagnostics does have some meat to it, which is why it would be great for someone to tackle those different problems. But this looks great. I do think the Microsoft team has like a handle on this. I'm glad to see Cijo has stuff in there. Nev sounds like he's worked on this before with.
He has a lot of experience working on this. Probably working on this forever in Microsoft.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll get some help from Cijo, so Cijo can pair up with him. So Nev is working in my sister team, and it's easy for me to manage.
And that's why we're also punting this out a little bit, so they don't have to start today. I mean, they can start thinking about it, but I was saying like let's pick a month in the future. You can go get resources now and like get a group together and get some planning, and maybe get a PM to help or something, so that when we start the planning phase, we're organized, and so we don't have to start it today.
Yeah,
we'll just put it on the calendar for when we think that's going to start.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Cool. Is there any other triaging, like actual triaging, we need to be doing right now? I'm gonna look at the spec repo real quick and just see.
So on my side, before next Tuesday, I'm going to look at the current metrics issue and put them into different milestones and start to track them.
Okay, great. I don't see any new spec issues that haven't been labeled, though some of them are labeled kind of thinly. But I think we maybe have to finish this other work first before we.
Yeah, so Ted probably ping me, or like I can wait until next Tuesday if you believe like all the top level projects or the timeline that's clear we have in our mind. And once we have that, I'll look at the top level projects and change all our existing issue labels.
Nice. Yeah. Feel free to start with that if you can start with that on the metrics side. I imagine you already have.
Okay.
And then the other part, I think I mentioned in other context, is it would be good for these boards to all have the same structure. And ideally a structure that we can automate. Like, so I'm just gonna look at this. So you don't have any columns yet, but it would be good to my mind, for all these projects to have the same columns in the Kanban board. My proposal is just unassigned, assigned, PR, ready or available, and like complete, something that simple. But if you have other ideas, I'd love to hear them.
No, I'm okay with any format. I like consistency. So
yeah, and those seem to be the steps we care about. Like and we should like work on things get assigned to people when they're actively beginning work on it. So the assignee list is like stuff that someone says they're going to do it, but the work hasn't shown up yet, so we know who to check in with. We should avoid like just pre-assigning things to people, so that like avoid the situation where like Josh has like 20 metrics things assigned to him. He's not actually working on them all. Just so we know like what's actually nobody's working on right now. And if someone can't keep up with one, then it moves back to the prior thing.
Yeah.
If we can get
make it very explicit. I think I saw the trouble. Like last year, I was put as a mentor for an intern work stream for AWS, where I already have 7 AWS interns. So I told Oli to not have another 5, and I haven't agreed on that. Please don't expect anything. And this year, when I came back from vacation, I noticed I was listed as the approver for the OpenTelemetry.NET contrib repo, where there are a lot of things I have no idea, like mass transit or the components. So people ask, hey, please review. And I told them, please remove my name.
Yeah.
And someone added my name without me knowing. So we have to make that clear first. And this community is so based on the trust and the commitment. So you have to motivate people and make sure they volunteer themselves, and then we hold them accountable.
Yeah, and we just had a pattern before, I think, of feeling like it was important to find assignees early and quickly to issues, like especially in the spec. So it's like spec comes in, it gets labels tagged on it, and then who should be assigned? Someone should be assigned at all times. And I think we should move away from that and only assign people when they're gonna work on it. It'd still be the TC's job to like keep track of all of this stuff. I feel like we're doing this job, but I want the TC to do more of it. But it should just be. I think that step is like muddled in the past. And if someone's assigned to it, they've been asked and said yes. And ideally, even I don't know how we put like due dates or something, but it's nice when someone gets assigned to it to at least like post in the issue when they expect.
Or that they're even actively looking at it, like they're planning on doing it, right? Because there's been a lot of drive-by assignments, I think.
Exactly, that's what we want to avoid. It's like we're gonna assign it to you, and like please like post saying like I'm taking this on. I believe I will have like a PR delivered by
like a real software project.
Like a real project. So we at least know when to like poke people, and it's written down. So we're like, what's up with this issue? We can at least look in and be like, well, Bob said he would do it, and he said he would do a thing, but he said he wouldn't deliver it till next week. So okay, we don't need to poke him, about it, whatever it is. And then last but not least, if we can get a bot that can actually move issues through this through these project boards, so that we don't have to manually, because that's like the other part that's a pain in the ass, is like I don't want to have to, like when a PR shows up, I don't want to have to like have this triage session where we look through the issues, see if a PR showed up for one, and like move it to the next stage in the project board. I think a bot should be able to do this for us. So the project board, you don't actually move things manually through the project board. It's just a state of truth about the source of truth about the project. Project boards don't do that automatically right now, which is really dumb. But
agreed. There's very little automation that's offered with them.
Yeah, Riley, go tell GitHub they should fix this for us.
Even in Microsoft, a lot of people, they're struggling internally. There's a Visual Studio Online system, which is very comprehensive and can manage like 10 millions of work items. I have no idea like why we should have 10 millions of anything. Like it's just impossible to manage. On the other side, GitHub in Microsoft, for a lot of projects, is prohibited because compliance. Like last year, there was a source code leak for Microsoft, like 500 repo, private repo leaked on GitHub. It's like slapping on its own face. So we have this weird process of some compliant thing sitting in the Visual Studio Online, and some of the thing that leaning towards open source sitting in GitHub, and some sitting in between, like GitHub private repo for Microsoft. And people did crazy like think they did some bot like try to do the nightly like merge from one repo to another, and it's all crazy.
Yeah, this is actually my hope. I mean, I do feel like Microsoft is being a good steward to a lot of this stuff, and I actually hope that Microsoft trying to dog food GitHub will lead to like the project management tool side of it, and like how do you do a big project on GitHub side of it.
They should just copy in the Windows source and see what happens.
Yeah. Exactly. Like that's like the ultimate goal, right? Is how do you do
I'm certain it is. Yeah.
How do you do a project that's like the space program level of complexity? But I would like to start with like the fucking Kanban boards, actually like Magicality, like really
actually moving things between. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, is there other business to attend to as far as triage? Again, just to remind us, we do need to triage these nearly 250 open spec issues. I think we have to get our new stuff sorted, but I just want to remind us that's we need to figure out how we're gonna cut some scope there or something.
Is the best time to do that at next week's meeting, or should we do that in specs call?
I think once we're like trundling on our new plan, I think as like a small group, we should figure out like what does it mean to reduce the number of open issues there.
Yeah.
Like it's not totally clear to me how we do that. So we should at least like audit what the hell's in there and try to figure out like how do we get to under 100 issues is like a goal. And always ideally stay under 100 issues. There's something about these projects where once that starts to spin out of control, it leads to, like I said,
things just get lost.
Yeah. And it's disheartening, like to go into a project and like open an issue and see like 700 open issues,
and just watch it fall in the stack. Yeah.
I'm like this is like a useless activity, right? There's got to be some other way I get people's attention because
I will try to enforce the ownership. For example, like if we have a clear understanding of the key milestones of projects, we should change the issue template. And I want to make sure that when new issues come, they will go to a specific bucket. And for example, if it's metrics API SDK, I should go and take care of that. If it's like convenience API, someone else who owns the convenience API. So we stop having these new issues coming, sitting nowhere. And then like whether it's 200, 300, it's just existing stuff. And it's just a matter of time and effort. So at least we stop bleeding and we come back and solve the existing issues.
Right. A lot of those issues are things that we've labeled like P2, P3, or like that would be nice, or post-spec or something. And those are the ones where it's like, I think tougher to figure out how to deal with them. Like, do we actually try to find room to chug through those? Do we stop making those issues? Like, do we just say, look, anything that's like a would be nice, like we don't actually record, we only record issues that we think we're gonna actually get through. Because it's not clear that it's helpful for us to like write down an idea that we're not gonna do anytime soon.
Yeah, or it can be in a doc or a discussion as opposed to an issue.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
This is what I observed in Microsoft. Like when a lot of folks, they don't have experience, they open some GitHub repo, like they got a lot of issues that they cannot afford to respond. So later they decided to close the issues entirely and only open that for internal folks. And what they did instead is tell people, hey, if this is a support ask, you use Microsoft product, you should go to the support center and like make a call or something. And if this is a feature ask, here goes the place. So they have a user voice and they have the vote. And then it makes the PM job easier because people can search. If they have some ask, they can search, I'll add one vote to it and we'll take the top 10 votes
like
to the job.
I like the idea of opening this phase up to the public. We could even do this up potentially with these upcoming projects. Like we're in the design phase. So if you have feedback around these issues, like come talk to us, like come into Slack and talk to us, or come like open an issue. But for things that are like outside the scope of the stuff that we're talking about right now, we're actually just going to say no, thank you, and respectfully close those issues for the time being. And maybe just track high level stuff somewhere else, but just try to, it's just not not feel like, oh, we want to keep track of this idea because it was a good idea, but we're not going to do it right now. Instead, be like, it's a good idea, so when we get to this phase, we'll, you know, like you can raise it again, or someone's going to raise it again. But we don't want to just have 300 open issues about like would be nices, because that's like no one can like paw through those. So like, well, how is that helpful to anybody? Cool. Okay, it's 9. Got to run.
Same here.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Exciting. See you on Monday.
See you. Bye.